So I'm working on this is just a test scene mock-up thing. I'm working on a beanbag throwing game. Oh, they're all in the wrong place. Yeah, and this is part of it, is being able to kind of look around like that. I thought I'd show you how to do that. Because it can be tricky to get a nice kind of camera flying around thing. So let's just try that. Okay. So first let's have an object. Does that count as a sculpture? It's like a whole scene. Okay. Whoa, that's a lot of fog. Okay. So let's put that there. Like in the middle. It doesn't actually matter where this is, it could be anywhere. So and what will be, oh, we'll put this camera in a place like that. Okay, and then we will use keyframes to move it around. Probably don't need that many. That'll do. And then if we add blending by using L1 and X, you can cycle through different blendings like that. And I'll just have those four. And this kind of ties these together as one big blob. So now if I record on this keyframe and scope in here, then I can move this camera around. So if I want it to be there, I can move it there, and L1 and circle to come out of a camera. That isn't just a keyframe thing, but works either way. Now if I go L1 and right, while we're recording, L1 and right on the D-pad, and it goes to the next one, and L1 left, and it goes to the previous one. So you can kind of go through these as you're editing. So if I go here, and I'm in here, and I got it positioned, and then I press L1 on right, now I can look over here, a funny angle, and then over here, and then L1 on right, like that. So now, as you scrub through, we see it going through all those positions, because I don't know why it shows everything being really low like that, but it does for some reason. But if you select one of these keyframes, it shows you the whole route that is recorded using them, and it's all like squiffy. If we select those like that, turn off smoothing, then they're just linear lines to each thing, and then you have these corners and they'll be really noticeable. But by default smoothing is on, so if we leave that on and play time, we can see that the camera like floats through those as if the corners are kind of smoothed out. Now it would be cool if we could just go round and round it. So we'll put that like that. And now, because we've copied the first one to the end, it'll loop back to that position and then go around again. Oh, if we put it on cycle. That sounds like... Sounds like there's some sound effects in here. Oh. Okay, that's better. Cool. So we've got that. Now, what if we want to... So let's just test it in actual play mode. So it's a bit crazy, but you get the idea. And it loops round and round. What if we wanted to be able to control moving left and right by maybe using the left stick, something like that? So let's do that. We'll have a microchip. Put that on the microchip. Control the sensor. Put it onto remote control mode so that we don't have to possess anything. And you want to use the left stick local because we don't care about what it is relative to the camera or anything, so I'll just do that. Left stick local into the splitter. Now we get the left and right and the up and down. So X is left and right and Y is up and down, and you can see that if we do that and wire that into there, and we move left and right, the X1 goes minus when we're going left and plus when we're going right, and then for the Y, if we're pushing up, it goes negative, and down it goes positive, because that's how hardware generally works with these controllers, I think. So now we've got those values. We should probably see how to get this playing normally so that we have a basis. So if we get a timer, better yet, if we get a slider and we while we're holding a wire, the bottom of the playhead has a little input. So now if we look at that and we change the value we're sending to it, from a value from 0 to 1, it's going from the beginning to the end of the slider, like that. So you could even have a signal generator which gives 0 to 1 by default over time. Oh, that's the wrong, I haven't plugged it into the thing. There you go. So it's going like, you can see when it's near the bottom at 0, then it's over here. When it's at 1 up here, then it's over here. So, and we can mimic the way like a timeline normally behaves as it plays through using a timer. Timer has an output. Just to be clear what that output is, let's plug it into a value slider. So if we play time, it's the percentage of this basically that has gone through. So it starts at 0, and as this reaches 5 seconds, it becomes 1. Like that. So that'll be convenient for plugging into there. So now, over a period of 5 seconds, the value will be 0 to 1, which means that the timeline will go from beginning to end. So this kind of forces the timeline to play within 5 seconds, and you could make it shorter, 2.1 seconds, or longer, whatever you like. So now we're actually going to use a different property of the timer. And that is, so you're probably aware that normally you just send it a start playing signal, just like an on or off. But then when you turn it off, nothing happens, but it just starts it playing. But there are other modes, timer types. So let's count up. Oh, let's get that back. And then if it's on countdown, you put it to the full. Oh, we've not got time running. It behaves the same way as count up, but then you start it, and then it counts down instead. Positional is, let's find, I think I know what positional is. So if we put it to that, so this is the percentage of the whole timer that it wants to be at, and it will move like just in real time to that position. So then if we wanted it to be at the start, we'll do that. If we wanted it to be a little way along, it just like increases time until it gets to that point. Like that. The other mode that we're going to use is speed. So at 0, let's put this back to there. At 0, it's not moving at all. If we increase it, it's now playing at 0.1 times real time. So for every second that passes, only 1/10 of a second has passed in this little timer. If we set this to 1, then it's playing at real time. And we can change this value over time. So now it's paused, now it's playing. We can even go like backwards, so we can give it a minus number, and it'll go backwards. And this is pretty useful when you have like a normal on or off signal, because you can tell it to play and then pause when it's just not being sent a signal, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to do is plug the left-right signal into it. So now if I push right, then it's increasing. If I push left, it's decreasing. So now we can use that one to power the oh, we lost the wire. There you go. So now we push right and it's going forward in the timeline, and left is going backward in the timeline. So forwards. Whoa, that was a bit weird. I think I'll tweak these so that they're less insane. Oh. Right. Okay, so we got that one, and then we'll just put the next one here, next one here, next one here. So let's see what that does. Okay, so that gets to the back. We need one for the right, and then we'll copy that one. So it goes round. Okay, that should be okay. So let's just make sure that's working. It's looking okay. So now we want to use the X of that. So we got the X, so then yeah, if we just play time, then we have to set it to speed again. So pushing right increases time, pushing left decreases time. Yeah, I hope Twitch fixes it, or someone fixes it, because it can be a bit disheartening. Okay, so so this part works. So let's see in action in play mode. So pushing right it moves through that timeline, which is actually like the wrong way around, but and then pushing left goes back through the timeline like that. So just for my own sanity, I'm going to invert that value by multiplying it by -1. And now it should make more sense. So pushing left goes left around the character, kind of thing, and right goes right around the character. But when we get to the ends like this, it just stops, and then that stops at the other end. Ideally, we want that to loop. So I will bring in a piece of logic I made, and we'll probably rebuild it, because that's what we like to do here at TAPgiles streams. No, that's not what we want. So the timer is actually in here now. We've got this timer in here. So we just set the speed using that, and then we need a max time. And all this is a timer. It's not a special thing for timelines or anything. It's just a timer that loops. You can get it to loop when it increases. Like if you go like that, then when it gets to the end, it'll pulse and reset itself, so then it can keep looping. But that doesn't work for if we have a negative value and we're on the speed setting. Speed. That's interesting. Why isn't that working? Plug that in there. Speed. Oh, because we're already at the start, aren't we? So then if we go negative, it will go back to the beginning, but then just get stuck there, and there's no easy way of getting that to loop, just with a timer. Which is why I've got this crazy logic. So I'll set it to something like that. Plug that in there. And now, as we move right, we'll make that a shorter thing, I think. Yeah, so moving, oh, now we have it inverted. Yeah, so pushing left will make it increase, and if we keep increasing it loops. If we push right, it'll decrease, and when it gets to the start, it will go back to the end, like so. Cool, so then in practice, let's see if it loops. So it loops okay that way, and then around the other way. Loops okay that way. Awesome. Yeah, so what if we add, so if we're not like using left or right to to push it around. I think the reason that's so janky is because these aren't equidistant. Sometimes in Dreams you have to say a long word and then it works. So I've said equidistant. Let's see if saying equidistant solved it. Yeah, it's a little smoother now. And when it's going slower, it's a little smoother anyway. So let's say if, while we're not messing with the stick, we want to have it just move at some slower time. So this one's effectively going 1-to-1 speed. So let's try just saying a different time here, just a different speed. So let's copy that, plug that in there, and we can make this just half speed maybe. And then if we go around, now it's still going around even though I'm not using the controls. Yeah, some slow speed, but then if we go press right or left, then it'll increase it. Thank you, Freakers. So probably want it so that it doesn't immediately start moving. So let's have a little timer. So while x is 0, let's put all this down here. So when x is 0, we will start the timer, and we'll just have this be a short timer of 1 second. And while it's finished, we will power this so that it actually sends its 0.1 value. So let's just see how that works. Cool, so that was 1 second, and that started moving. But then it would probably be nice to ramp this up. So let's go, just put it through a signal manipulator and give it a ramp up time. Actually, this is really nice when you give it a really big ramp up time. So let's see. So it takes a little second to get up to speed. And then you can still use the left stick. But because the I think the timer isn't resetting, so it's just carrying on. So let's just make sure that's what's happening. Rewind. Okay, so it started playing, and then I move around, and it. Interesting. So actually we want, yeah, we're probably doing this around the wrong way. So we probably want it to be if the timer's finished, and I'll tell you what, we just use speed actually. See how that works. So because we're using speed, it'll, while it's 0, it'll keep counting up. But if we stop, if it stops being 0, then this will stop sending a signal, so it'll stop counting up. So let's have a look at that. So let's make this a longer time so we can mess with it. Okay, so it's 0, but if we stop it being 0, it will stop counting up, and then it will count up again when we stop pushing the left stick. But we also want want it to reset when it's not 0, so that it takes a little time for it to start up again. Oh, why am I plugging that in there? Plug that into there. So move the left stick, you stop moving the left stick and it starts counting. And then we start moving the left stick again and it stops counting. So if we just sit here for a bit. Ooh, and it starts like that again. And then if we start moving the stick again, it just takes over. And it starts up again. So this could be quite nice for like a character piece like this, to have it go round.